It's funny that you mentioned that thread, because there was another editor that I've spoken with before who was a little bothered by something that happened in there, and it is not. This isn't like drama level,
Right.
but there were several people who said editors are there to make sure that your spelling and grammar are right, and one of the editors was obviously. I think a lot of us instantly were like, "Oh, you have no idea what we do." Oh, like we were really bothered.
I thought
And me, I'm like, yes, that is part of what I do.
Well, it certainly is a part of what we do, but it's a part. You know what I mean? And
the whole thing.
Especially, what's that?
unless you hire me as a proofreader,
Yeah.
that's only part of what I do.
Proofreaders. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. So proofing is important, absolutely. Like it really is. But there's so much more that an editor can do for your book. And this guy was really bothered by it. And I said, "Why are you bothered by this? This guy was never gonna hire you. He has no respect for what we do.
Yeah.
I want someone who is gonna come in, and when I give them my price, which sometimes can sound a little high, they go, okay, cool. I'm willing to put some skin in the game. Let's see what's happening." And now I have to make sure that I deliver to them the amount of money, like more than what they paid. You know what I mean? Like they really need to go, oh, okay, cool. That was worth it. I would have paid more. You know what I mean? So yeah, I was very disappointed in seeing that answer still, because that's something we're trying to teach people and show people that there's editors do so much more than that. But again, those are the people who aren't going to use this anyways. And honestly, I think they're going to have a hard time succeeding.
Yeah. And that's the thing, when I talked about bringing on an actual team for the next kind of phase of books and stuff, editor is one of them. But it's also kind of terrifying, because then I have to change the goal for this for any future Kickstarters. It can't be $700 or $1,000. I mean, it's got to be $3,000, $5,000. You know,
editor. I don't know what you think editors cost, but
well, not just for editors.
Okay.
No.
I was gonna say, holy cow! How much?
I'm talking
Who's
like
your editor? Because I want to keep their job. That's a lot of money.
Chuck gave me a discount for some stuff too, so make sure you do.
He's bringing in Jim Shooter is what he's doing.
He's going to the top.
Well, I mean, for like the penciler, the inker, colorist, like a whole art team on a book, it's going to be $2,500.
You look at 24 pages, right? And like I said, it's easy to use our own stuff as examples because that's what we know the most.
Right.
24 pages for me in each of my books ends up being almost $3,000, give or take $100, depending on what team that's working on the book. You know what I'm saying? So that's just interior artwork. All right.
Yeah.
So then you start touching on color, or you start touching on covers. And like I said, almost everybody on my team is $350 covers.
Yeah.
At 8 covers, that's another $2,400, $2,500. Give or take what they're charging me total. Then you turn around and you're like, I need to get a letterer that knows what they're doing, because a letterer can make or break your book.
Yeah.
So then you're paying another $150 to $200 for a letterer.
It's $70,000.
That easy. And that's what I've always tried to tell people when they come in and they're like, I'm going to make a comic book. I'm like, you have the pockets for a comic.
Are you independently wealthy?
Like, can you do it? Are you able? Do you bring a team with you? Do you, like, even if you go to the bank, right? Like right now, I'm dealing with the bank for some a project I'm trying to get on the ground. It will make a lot much easier all around for my lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? But it's like you're having to go, hey, look, this is what I pay my artists every month. This is what we make back every month. You know what I mean? This is the sales after Kickstarter. This is what I'm guaranteed at Kickstarter, so on and so forth. And when you start looking at the money, it gets terrifying. It gets absolutely horrifying, but what you're spending. But you have to spend it to make it. Just like any other business in the world. Like you've got guitars on the wall behind you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know people in my life, and I could be wrong, but I don't know people that have ever bought cheap guitars. I don't know that's a thing. You know what I'm saying? So you can talk about action figures or comic book art or anything else that you buy. As a comic book seller, I have to spend money to make money. You know what I mean? Same thing with anything else. It's just like time. You talked about how you were. I'm going through here and I'm making my own 3D stuff. Cool. That to me is money. You're spending time. You're spending your time to do that. Versus if you're a comic book salesman and you're going to estate sales, or you're going to yard sales, or you're going to, buy bulk lots in a different state. You know what I'm saying? You're spending your time. You're spending your gas. All of these things you have to have a value for. So at the end of the year, when you put all this stuff down on paper, you have some kind of idea of what you're moving into the next year. What's going on? What do I need to spend? How often am I going to have to spend X dollars? Where is my breathing space? Like I've got a trade paperback coming out, and it's in the next 4 months, 5 months, whatever. Chuck and I sit down once we figure out what's going on with this stuff, when we're going to drop it, because that's breathing room. Whether people believe it or not, a trade paperback is breathing room, because we have the art. We have all the art. You know what I'm saying? Now we go in and we put, a thank you page and whatever, and what have you out there. We do a few other things. We do some add-ons to it and whatever. But now you've got a 72-page, perfectly bound trade paperback coming out. So that's its own Kickstarter. That's it's a project in itself. And there are plenty of people, like just talking about how you build with a Kickstarter. They start following people in Kickstarter. You start getting your dedicated buyers.
Yeah.
So this particular book now has 3 whole books of dedicated buyers behind it that are talking to other people.
Right.
Now, it may cost you a little bit more to print this particular book, but you've already got everything done, right? So now it's just like you're not paying a whole other art team. This is a month that you have that you can make funds with to put toward another breathing setting. You know what I mean? Now you've got time to chill out. Absolutely, Specs. Absolutely. And it's not because you don't have to go out and make a shit ton of money off that Kickstarter. You just got the book's done. You know what I'm saying? It's done. Now you're just paying for the printing. You're paying for a little bit of advertising. Your editor has already edited this book. He's already gone through it. So you know what? That's breathing room there. For a guy like me that puts out books the way I do, I have to look at my months. Where's a month for me to put aside money for this? Where's a month for me to put aside money for that? Who's getting paid this month? Who's getting paid this month? How does this work?
The trade is really your chance to make money off of it.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, after constantly kind of taking loss and loss and loss, then you come into the trade and you're like, okay, and you are going to want to add some shorts and some little things, but really when it's all said and done, it's fairly negligible, because you want it to be a slight, at least a different enough product that the people who have bought it are like, crap, I still have to get this too. So you are going to invest a little bit, but maybe you'll invest, I don't know, maybe you'll invest $1,000.
Right.
But when we're talking about a trade, chances are, I mean, the trades are usually between $20 and $40, depending on what you're selling, how big it is and such. So, there's a really good chance for you to finally make some money off of that and really do well for yourself and put money in your pocket, especially moving forward into the next arcs. Right. So, yeah, man, he's totally right there.
Yeah, I already have like a plan for a trade for SeerNova, so it's gonna be like way over 100 pages. Like, wow, a lot.
That's
a graphic novel.
Yeah, that's like Fat Boy book, man.
Yeah,
you gotta have money for that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's like you guys know In Symmetry Creations, right? Matt Knowles and Steph Cannon. Dude, their first trade was like 160 pages. It was 11 issues. Wow. And I was like, what? Yeah, look at this guy. Oh, shit. Yeah, exactly. 11. Their first trade was 11 issues. And I remember talking to him and going, hey, are you going to do that again? He's like, no, I think our next trade's like 3 or 4 issues. And I was like, yeah, good call. And that's, that's learning, that's getting into it. But yeah, absolutely, man.
268 is ball.
268, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wow.
But then again, to be fair, hold on now. So there's a big difference in Matt. So I remember seeing Matt at a show years ago when I wasn't even vending or anything. I remember seeing them have a booth and thinking how cool the concept was of everything going on at this booth, right? So Matt's that exception where it's like he's been doing it for so long that he can be like, I'm going to put out a 268-page trade paperback and it's going to be awesome. You know what I mean? And that goes hand in hand with that moving up as you've been around. It's notoriety. It's just like how Marvel is, and DC as well, and even Image. When you go, hey, look, we're known more for our publishing than we are for our individual characters, with the exception of Spider-Man, Superman, and a few Punisher, a few other names. You know what I mean? Spawn for Image, and Savage Dragon, whatever. But they're known more for their publications all across the board than they are for their individual characters. Versus indie comics, where people are like, you're known. It's you that's known versus your actual product itself, because you're selling yourself. People are like, I'm familiar with this individual. I see this person all over the place. There must be a reason I see this person everywhere. People are interested in them. And that's why when, Chuck, and actually Matt and Chuck both just did an awesome show the other night about how you should market yourself. And, like I said, I've only been doing this for a little while compared to a lot of people, but I listen and I follow these things, and I try to learn from all these individuals that have been killing it in this industry. And I say killing it, I mean killing it. Like surround yourself by these guys that are like literally out there busting it. Most of the guys that I hang out with personally that are friends of mine are making $20,000, $30,000 Kickstarters. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I don't have aspirations like that for right this second, because that's not me. I'm not there yet. I haven't done my time. But the longer you do it, the better off you'll be. You just have to stick it out, even when it sucks. You'll have naysayers, and taking losses with every issue. Catalyst Comic Studio put it up there. Taking losses with every issue. Oh, what? Hold on now. Oh yeah, absolutely, Matt. Please, man. It's work the work. Absolutely, Mike. But it's something to be said about these guys that have been killing it for a while. It is. It's the drive. As they just posted, it's the drive. It's very important, because if you don't have it, you're not willing to stick through the suck. You know what I mean? Because we all know there's suck. And if you can't stick through it, Chuck said it earlier. Maybe it's not for you. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not. Because there have been days when I was like, I went from a job where I'm making $100,000 a year to learning how each month is going to be with my bills. And that's not to say that my wife doesn't do well, because she does, and that's a whole other animal. But there's a support system in each person's life. Use those support systems, better yourselves with them together. But at the end of the month, you still have to pay your bills. And this is one of those industries where sometimes it's going to suck. Are you going to be able to go out to dinner to Longhorn this month? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe you've got to pay for a promo instead of going out to Longhorn this month.
They have really good mac and cheese, by the way.
They do.
I just had their mac and cheese the other day.
All right. I had it for the first time like last October. I was like, wow,
Man,
this is amazing.
There's only one that beats it, and that's the one you can get. Oh my God, what is the other restaurant? Cracker Barrel.
Yes.
Cracker Barrel has amazing mac and cheese. Absolutely amazing mac and cheese. Look here. So
I don't think Todd agrees.
There's I function on the assumption that no one has achieved any macaroni and cheese better than Kraft. It might just be my thing. Like,
wow.
When I want mac and cheese, that's what I want. Any of that other shit is just like melted cheese on noodles. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, who can argue?
Todd.
Who can argue against cheese dust? These guys know what's going on.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not good for you or at all. I get it, but I don't eat any other mac and cheese. But by all means, my whole family does. My wife's like a mac and cheese connoisseur. She's like, "Oh my God, this is so good." I'm like, "That's bullshit."
If confidence
That's not real.
Kickstarter, if confidence funds on Kickstarter, there's going to be a stretch goal of mac and cheese.
Yeah,
that would be
everybody
cool.
gets a box. See, Matt's with me. Everybody gets a box of Kraft mac and cheese. Actually, I'll buy the Target brand because it's like 39 cents a box.
I do want to point something out before anything else right now. The Bingstons are in here right this minute. They're in the chat. They do more supporting for indie comics than any group of people that doesn't work in this industry that I've ever seen. They ask for nothing. They give us sterling reviews for things that we do. They're super kind about the things that we send them. And I, for one, am very thankful, guys. I try to tell you when I see you, but I'm very thankful. I appreciate your time and your investment into our product.
Except there is one problem with that statement, Dustin. And that is they are actually working on a comic right now that I'm editing. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And soon they will be in the industry. And you guys are going to see something really fun coming out from Mike and Trish. So,
Well, see, I'm excited now. Thank you so much, Chuck. You've literally made my day. I will be. I am on as soon as we find out when that's dropping. I'm one of the first people to back that.
Everybody, keep your minds open and be ready for Brink and Fetch. What is it? Oh yeah, Brink and Fetch just want to have fun is the name of the book, and it is an awful lot of fun. It's sexy sexy teenagers plus supernatural. It's a lot of fun.
That sounds like an amazing concept. I mean,
it's fun.
In a world right now when a lot of books are serious, and I use mine, a lot of books are very serious. It's nice to see the comedic elements. We saw another post yesterday about how people can have flaws. What is your own flaws? One of my flaws is I beat myself up, and the other one is I'm not great at comedy, like straight comedy. I'm not great at it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And Chuck the other day was like, hey, you gotta, play on the comedic value of these two characters. And I'm like, I'm not that funny. So I'm gonna try to play off it a little bit. Had a lot of fun. Oz and Kate are a lot of fun to me, and to play off the two of them is a blast. The Mortal Kombat variant is going to color. Went to color yesterday, so we should be seeing that shortly. But I had a guy literally come at me, and he was like, hey, why are there Lego blocks on the ground in the pit? And I was like, do you have children? And he was like, no. And I was like, all right, well, if you step on a Lego block in the middle of the night, I can tell you that's the end of the world. Man,
it's worse than spikes.
Man, that is end all be all type of thing. And I thought that was a lot of fun that we could bring things like that because because when we were kids, Mortal Kombat 1 was in the arcade. You know what I mean? So it was a lot of fun for us to be able to do, a cosplay variant of that, especially with the movie coming out right now and the talks of what else is going on with 11 and all kinds of other stuff. But absolutely, subtle humor can, and I'm doing my best to start adding more of it from such a very serious level to come into an IP where it's serious, but at the same time we've got a 10-year-old. I mean, a 10-year-old's going to be doing all kinds of wonky shenanigans anyway. Don't
all 10-year-olds do that?
I think all 10-year-olds are bananas.
Yeah,
like absolute bananas. My daughter's
mostly they just ask what's for dinner.
Yeah, well,
mac and cheese, cracked mac and cheese.
And I'm not joking. My two kids, my youngest two, I should say, they are both Kraft mac and cheese junkies, and they hate when we go anywhere and they get anything else. They're like,
And if you want to make it fancy, throw some hot dogs in it.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Tuna and if you want to get fancy around here, we throw tuna fish and peas.
There you go.
No.
Actually, tuna fish in mac and cheese is not bad. My girlfriend.
It's amazing.
And I'm like, this is okay, but not
okay.
Or some ground beef. I mean, just
ground beef.
Whatever heart-stopping thing you've got in your mouth, tuck it in there.
I think if we have tuna and peas, it's a healthy meat and a veggie.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
As a former, oh sorry. Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, as a former chef, you guys are scaring the shit out of me. The future of this country, when it comes to food, is just scaring the crap out of me. I try to take that stuff and elevate it. You guys are like, no, we could make this worse. What are you doing?
Let me tell you, when I was in high school, I used to love corned beef hash. I mean, I still love corned beef hash. But in high school, I discovered that you could just buy a can of it. Like
cans of corned beef hash, yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, you just dump it in the pan and heat it up.
And then it splatters all over the place and burns you.
Well, and somehow at the same time, because I was a fat kid, I mean, I tried to find ways to be fatter, I think. I put fish sticks on it. Like, so I'd have a plate of corned beef hash and I'd cook some fish sticks and I'd eat that together. Like, it's horrific.
Did you put? Did you? And the true question is, did you put ketchup on it?
Oh hell no.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, you don't need the ketchup. That's what the grease and the corned beef hash is for. You know?
I remember being 13. And I had to. A buddy of mine was like, "Why don't you guys come over? I'll make us lunch, and we'll hang out at my place." We're like, "Okay." So me and a friend, we drove, and it was like miles and miles away. We lived in the country, so we drove all the way over to his house. We got there, and by that time I'm starved. We're ready for lunch, and he's like, "Okay, cool. I'm gonna make my favorite thing." And I'm like, "What's that?" And he's like, he said, "It's sugar sandwiches," and I was like,
Yeah.
Well, what's a sugar sandwich? And he's like, you toast it, and then you put butter on it, and then you put the white sugar on it. And I was like, okay, you're trying to make cinnamon toast.
Yeah.
Do you have cinnamon or brown sugar? And I'm like 13 at the time. And he's like, no, my mom doesn't bake. I'm like, let's see what else you have here. This is not okay. Like, I'm not all right with this. And so at the age of 13, I'm raiding his cupboards. Like, what can we find that doesn't make you feel so fucking poor?
Like married with children back in the day eating Tang sandwiches.
Tang sandwiches.
I've had children peanut butter sandwiches before. So
Tang sandwich sounds like something that I would find in a Jim Noble book.
Oh no!
I love Tang, but I don't think on a sandwich.
Oh no!
You know,
I don't know. Although maybe if you mix just enough water to make a paste, it would almost be like a really crazy orange marmalade.
No,
not quite.
No.
You guys made my pineapple pizza seems much more normal than
right.
You know.
I thought I was gonna get hate when I posted that. When I posted my pizza like a week or two ago, I'm like, I chose violence, but like I guess a lot of people like pineapple on pizza. I was like,
I like pineapple on pizza.
Yeah, I'm about pineapple on pizza, man.
I like it when my daughter likes it, and I don't really love hot pineapple for some reason. I'll eat cold pineapple with hot, like I don't know why. So, but if I take it off, I like the flavor that it leaves on the pizza. That's it's got a nice flavor. It's weird. Apparently, I have food issues. It's fine.
I'm hard to track down.
If you have like press releases or like want to be on the campaign corner, which I run, just send me an email at greg@indiecomicsdispatch.com. Pretty sure that's the email.
That's how you know he's got like 12 other emails. Because I've got like 2. Exactly what they are.
My favorite thing is that he had the hardest time with the .com part. It was like Greg at comicdispatch.com. Like, is it .org? What else is that?
They saved on the domain and got the .net.
Y'all
.ca.
.ca. Oh, that was nice.
I hear that .is making a comeback.
Oh, gotta get on the .biz.
.tv.
I laughed when we made the shop. My website was thelistenercomics.xyz, and apparently that's a thing. I didn't know it was. I think that's awesome.
XYZ.
Huh.
Oh man, absolutely.
Yeah, Beck, Matt's, and Steph's Kickstarter. It went under 10,000, and yeah.
Yay!
It's phenomenal, though, guys. I mean,
it was at 10,000 something, and then it went down. Like, they got a couple. Yeah.
How do you do that to somebody?
I was one of those people. I was like, I actually have to like lower. I have to take my one add-on off.
I've had to drop due to like financial emergency before,
but
and I hate to do it. I feel so bad, but sometimes life happens.
Yeah.
So, not to scare you guys currently on Kickstarter, but when Belial was going on in October, and there was a bunch of other ones going on at the same time, there was this rash of people who were coming on. And I don't know if Greg, if you guys noticed this as much too, but there was a rash of people who were literally trolling campaigns, and they would come on, they would put money in and then dash out, and they would put money in and they would dash out. There was one guy who put in like, what's it? Well, there was a bunch of them.
Oh, so there was a Bobby guy that did our Family Matters Kickstarter. He gave us $104. Was like, sweet. And then I'm like, we hit a stretch goal. And then like, now I'm waiting for future reference. But he's like, here's $104. And then like a couple minutes later, he canceled the pledge. I was like, why did you do that?
They do that to force
about it, and I'm like, oh, if we can keep you, like, how about you get like this instead? But
they do that to force you to go to those stretch goals and stuff. And yeah, it happened, and it was brutal. It happened with a bunch of people. There was one guy who so I think they put in like several $100s or something like that, and then anytime anybody else would come in and put more money in, they would take money off of their pledge, so it never looked like their campaign was moving.
Never moved.
So the backers were going up, but the number was never changing, and it was like, what the hell? Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to get you worried. This hasn't had, like, Kickstarter kind of came on and dealt with a lot of this stuff because we reported a lot of those accounts. But yeah, that was something that happened at the end of last year. We got hit with a bunch of people.
2 weeks stress level isn't enough. Now I got to start panicking.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? There's really not a lot you can do. What I would say is, if you're looking at stretch goals and stuff, maybe keep an eye on who has stretched you over. Maybe give yourself a little bit of breath before you announce the next one. You know, just to see what's up. I mean, IGG has its own problems, dude. So I mean, they and that's not against. I'm not against IGG, but they all have their own issues.
IGG's got its own thing, right? Like Todd mentioned it earlier. It's got its own type of following for IGG.
It does, yeah.
So like I made $2,600 on my first campaign, and then when I went to do the campaign, because everybody was like, hey, you should do it again on Indiegogo for the people that use Indiegogo and not Kickstarter. So I was like, okay, that's cool, right? So I put it on Indiegogo and I made like $15 in a week, and I was like, there's something wrong here. You know, you really don't understand what's going on with this thing. Same kind of advertising, same show in the book,
right.
You know, but it's like there are different kinds of people in each platform, and I understand this. And our book being very heavily tied to Native American belief systems and theologies, and being involved in World War II and all that jazz, you know, maybe it's just a different group of people. You know, that's how I viewed it. So if it works for people, by all means, kill it on IGG. You know what I mean? If it's working for you. It doesn't like me though.
On that note, I think I gotta head out, folks. It's been fun.
See you, Todd.
I got more campaigns to support now, so I got to go do that.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate it.
That's awesome, Todd.
Yeah, well, hit us up, Greg. Good chatting with you, and we'll stay in touch, everyone.
All right.
Take care, Todd.
Good talking to you, Todd.
Right, later.
Nice meeting you, man.
Okay.
Now I get to sit with everybody else.
All right.
Oh. Welcome
Screw
to
Ice
the
Pick. No, just kidding.
Oh man. Oh my gosh. So you were talking about how the Bingsons have a book coming out. That's really exciting. Can you give us an idea of maybe a month or so when they may be doing that, so I can prepare my own funds for that particular event? You know what I mean?
Sorry, what was this?
Chuck, do you have an estimate on when Trish and Mike's book will be launching?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, no, I didn't pick up all the words in that sentence. So they're currently on page 9 for pencils, page 19 out of 24. So they're you know, trying to take it. I would bet we're looking at fall of 2021.
Sweet, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, that's not too far away. That's great.
Yeah, no, and
Congrats to them.
They have lots of cool ideas. Trish, oh my gosh, I love that woman to death, but she's already like 12 campaigns away working on stretch goals for that. Like that woman, we were like trying to find that because they brought me in first. And basically, Mike was like, I'll pay you, check out. Yeah, that's right.
Congrats, Mike. That's awesome.
Congratulations,
awesome, dude.
guys.
And Mike was like, look, I'll pay you to come in and check out. Yeah, they do have a cover done. I'll pay you to check out. Actually, technically, they have 2 because it's a Naughty and Nice cover.
Get them.
Yeah, yeah, it is. David Fott. It's. I don't know if I was allowed to say that, but whatever. Sorry, guys.
We definitely love us some David Fott.
Right, but he brought me in and he's like, look, I just want to know if I even have anything. I was like, okay, and so I was like, look, you can have something. Let's keep working. And he got it up to a place where we were both very happy about it. We felt like it was definitely what he was looking for and the best version of his idea. And we moved forward. And I think before, like while we were looking for an artist, Trisha's like, okay, cool. I have these ideas. I'm gonna start making buttons, and we're like, dude, we don't even have art. What are you doing, hon? She's so excited. She's so amazing. She's
That's
so
awesome.
supportive. If there was such a thing as being overly supportive, which there isn't, but if there was, Trisha's picture would be in that dictionary heading. She's awesome. I love her to death. So yeah, man, they're gonna make a great book, and you guys are gonna like it. And I'm excited because I'm surrounded. JD, you're the only guy I don't know here. I've worked with everybody else here pretty much.
It's funny. Greg's the only person I know here.
Yeah, because Greg and I are working on Heaven's Decoded. Todd and I are
very close to 100 backers.
Yep. Todd and I are working on Confidence, which we're gonna push and we're gonna make fun, and is honestly, guys, a really fun, interesting, exciting book. I enjoyed it an awful lot, and I was really had a good time with it. So I hope you will too. And his artist is just banging. Of course, Katrina is my editor on Essence House. She's the reason why it's gonna look as good as it does. And my boy Dustin, we're working on Greed 2, among a bunch of other things in the future. So, yeah, man, I'm in very good company, and I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited you came on, man. It's mad fun, you know, and it's fun to see. It's fun, like I mentioned earlier. Surround yourself by people that will lift you up and make you better. You know what I mean? And surrounding yourself by those people means that not just people that are like people you aspire to be as well, right? Like if you're like working at a company and you want to be the boss, I'm not saying go, you know, give him a reach around or anything, but pay attention. You know what I mean? This is what he's doing right. That's how he got there. You know, he may have done the reach around to get there. You know, what I mean? You don't have to. You know what I mean?
But we don't say no to a good reach around.
Right. Well, so you know,
Trisha's got those buttons covered.
So, you know, you deal with these little nuances of things, and you watch these people, you know, like, what is this Kickstarter doing that mine didn't? You know, what is the goal? Are the goals like too lofty? Like I said, the first show I was in with Greg, I said that my goal was 2,400, and I thought that I had dropped a bomb in the room. You know what I mean? People were like, "Are you for real?" Da da da. And it's like, it's interesting, you know, to see the different responses and what people are doing.
Oh, I thought you were reading that the entire time.
No, I wasn't at the time.
You're looking at mac and cheese recipes.
Okay. So here's the thing. I talked about this earlier on because I did another podcast this morning, and I spoke about this earlier. So no, that's a great question. Actually, an editor does not know all. And to assume that is just a ridiculous idea. So the thing is that you as a writer need extra eyes. So me having another editor, first off, I'm doing it just because it's the right thing to do. You should always have an editor look at your stuff, and you need that second set of eyes. Someone you are focused on writing a good story, but they are focused on you hitting your audience and on getting your head out of the clouds to the point where you can deliver that story to the audience. Because a lot of times we're in the forest, we can't see everything that's going on, and it's like, dude, what are you talking about? We don't understand what's going on here. And I'm like, well, it's because of this. You never said that. Oh, okay, so I have to add this in, or anything like that. So that's why that's really important. Also, on a personal level, I've been screaming and ringing the bell for editors over and over and over. How disingenuous and shitty would it be for me to then not use one? Like, what, I'm better than everybody else or something? Like, that'd be such a bullshit statement to make. So no, I think it's really important to use an editor on everything you do. And because of that, I will use an editor on everything I do, or else that's just not a cool way of going about things.
And I would say too that we all have our own strengths.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that I personally bring to the table is I'm incredibly detail oriented. So I look at those things like, hey, Greg,
how's it going, Greg?
And have a good day, Trish. You know, so I have a tendency to catch things that not everybody catches. and it's kind of like even with us as for as comic editors, I have particular jobs that I send people to Chuck for because I know he's way better suited, for certain things than I am.
I know that Chuck wouldn't ever be the editor for any of our comics because of the world building behind all of our stuff. We have this like whole continuity thing that he
that kind of thing excites me. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yes, let's do
he
it.
definitely doesn't want to touch that.
I tell people right away, like when Heaven's Decoded. Josh and Ronnie did so much work on that, and Ronnie had like this Bible of stuff, and he's like, "You got to read this Bible," and I was like, "No."
Yeah.
And he said, "What?" And I was like, "No, I won't. I won't read it." And I think he was hurt at first, but I told him, I said, "Look, my personal philosophy is, first off, I'm not here to necessarily to help you co-write this or create this stuff. That's not my purpose. My purpose is to make sure that you hit your audience. If I have all of that background information, then I already know that stuff, and I can't best see that. So when it comes to all of that behind the scenes Bible stuff, all that, I don't read it. I won't look into it, because if I don't understand what's going on from your script,
then neither are the readers.
Then neither are the readers. So that's where I come from.
So it's like the guy that you've got book 1 and book 2 and book 3, right, in a story, and you come in as a new reader, and you come in at book 3, because we'll assume we're in the 80s and 90s again, and we don't have the internet to chase books. All right, that's the best way to look at it. You picked up an issue of Spider-Man that you found on a spinner rack, and you're checking it out, and you're like, "Oh, this is really cool." You have to still be able to understand what's happening when you pick it up. You can't just be like, "Hey, look, I need to know everything that happened in the past issues to understand what I'm reading right now." And I think that's one of the coolest things about editors is the fact that they reach out and they go, "Hey, look, I know this story, I know what's behind it, but at the same time, you have to give the nuances of what's occurring." Another example, like I said, because it's easy, because it's my stuff. When the last time Chuck and I talked about Greed, the next issue of Greed, it was like, "Hey, look, you've got all this stuff going on. Why are they in this situation? What is the reasoning behind the situation?" And it was like, "Oh, okay, well, that makes perfect sense. I need to explain more of this, because Heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? I mean, you know all the information. You know everything that's going to happen, and or has happened. No one else knows but you. You know what I mean? Even your artists, your art team. Like a couple of my guys don't like to read ahead, because they like to be in the moment when they're doing the pages, because they like to put their own emotional value into the creations that are being put in the panels. So it's like, okay, well, hey, did you know this, and this happened? Oh no, I didn't get that far yet. And you want to be like, you mean you didn't get that far yet? But at the same time, it's their process, and these guys are professionals, and if you pay them, respect the process. You know what I mean? It's not a diss, it's not an insult. Respect their process. They're here for a reason. They know what they're doing. You know what I mean? So it's whatever. I understand there are bad apples, and stuff happens in situations, but that's not every case. So go at it with an open mind. If your editor says, "Hey, look, there's a problem with this," they're not insulting you. They're just coming at you with something that needs to be fixed. Because they're not in there with you. They're not in the forest with you. That phrase is the best. You can't see the forest for the trees, and you can't, because your elbow's deep in it. And you're looking around, going, "Can someone help me?" And it's just more trees. You know what I'm saying?
I will say that I was an English teacher for more than 10 years. I taught high school. I taught at the college level. I taught writing. I taught creative writing. I've read and edited more papers than you can imagine. And the first thing I did was I thought I need an editor, because I know that fact. Like, I know that I can't edit my own work. I know that I'm terrible at it, because I know that I assume everybody knows what I know. And that's exactly, so you ask why Chuck needed an editor. It's the same reason I needed an editor. I'm not an editor necessarily, but I could if I had to be. Like, it wouldn't be awesome. I mean, maybe not the best choice, but like, it's definitely something I have done. And I totally did not even think for a second that I was going to not get another outside person to look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah. Mike just said in the comics, you can always revise, but you can never edit, which is
For sure.
kind of true.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Our
really hard to see
original-
that.
Our original Seer Chronicles, like it was all like not put together the right way because like I thought that. I was like, oh, well, they don't need to know like this, but they need to know this. And then Chuck's like, no, you're gonna do this. I'm like, all right. And then
Chuck's just
he
like,
taught us
no.
about like page turns and stuff because like we knew about that, but we didn't know like really how that works. That's a whole big thing. So that's literally what we try to do on all of our comics, which obviously is like a thing you should do.
Oh, for sure.
And we just edited it. We just finished with Ink 2, if Travis is watching. So
Travis.
that, like, I can't wait to start that after like the 1,000 other comics that we're currently finishing. But there's like cool page turns in that. So like,
That's awesome. See, that's exciting, right? And that goes hand in hand with not only editors, but you know, earlier it was mentioned, you know, the editors aren't paid just to go in and make sure that your words are spelled right and you know your punctuation is correct. That also goes hand in hand with letterers, guys. You know what I mean? Make sure you get your stuff checked before it goes to them, because they'll help. For the most part, most of them are really cool people and they'll help, but it's not their job. You know, a lot of times if you put it in there and they change it, they worry about the fact you may get upset with them changing your script because they're not trying to mess anything up, especially when it comes to language. When you start adding slang and other stuff to different ways people talk, that's a whole other animal.
Like my letterer is from Chile, you know, like English is not his first language. So like, yeah, he speaks English, but you know, there might be nuances that I put in there that he's going to, you know, he's just going to take what I give him and say, yes, this is what they want. So yeah, you can't count on them to be like, he must have meant this, so I'm going to change it. Like,
Yeah, and
word for word.
When I've proofread, I've done it at script level and on completed books.
Yeah,
And even if it's, remember, your editor should be there as close to the beginning as possible to help with those kind of things, because you know, I said, you know, I could have saved your letter a lot of work if I had seen this at script level.
Well, and also there at the end, right, where we can step in and just be like, oh, okay, yeah, this isn't working. That's because a lot of times what will happen is you'll make changes based on the art. Yep. You'll see the art and you'll go, oh, cool, I'm going to add this line or I'm going to do this thing or whatever, which is fine. But we didn't okay that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we haven't seen that. So maybe there's some misspellings or the twang doesn't work or whatever it is. Give us the chance to go through. And I have a package deal. Like, when you get me for everything. So I always come in at the very end and go over every lettered page when it's done and make sure that everything makes sense and that, you know, the spelling and pronunciation is all there. I have a lot of people who are like, don't worry, my wife proofs it. And I'm like, I'm sure your wife is incredibly intelligent, but her name's not on the book. Mine is. Please, just let me do this. It's not costing you anything more, okay?
And no offense to anybody's spouse, but do you know all the rules of lettering?
Right.
And things like that, like, you know, with an ellipsis or, you know, the various little things that you might use in regular text, like in prose. But
how do you think I got such a hot wife?
Okay.
I thought it was just because you like bacon.
You know,
it helps. It's also that I'm a good cook.
No.
On a side note, nothing bothers me more than people who put 4 periods in an ellipsis.
Or two.
Two.
Yeah, or two.
Bugs me. Oh man.
Two bugs me.
Grammar.
I don't know how many times I've gone through books and gone, it has 3. 3, guys. Like, the number is 3.
There's a reason that like Microsoft Word, like when you hit 3, it like makes it 1 character for you. Like, don't keep going. Like,
right.
You don't need more periods.
And you don't need a period at the end of them, guys. So don't try telling me that that's why there's 4.
That's so weird. Why people do that?
Yeah.
People will come up with all kinds of reasons for why they do things, and I'm just like, no.
Like Dylan does like make a couple mistakes when he's running through the script, and then I am editing his work, and I'm like, that's spelled wrong. And he's like, oh.
People will also try to, and this happens a lot, where they're like, hey, I have this philosophy. I want to change things. I want to do things differently. So maybe, like Kat, maybe they're going to decide, I don't need punctuation.
We don't use end
punctuation.
punctuation. Not all punctuation, just end punctuation, unless
Oh,
it's
is that what it was?
mark. Yeah, question marks are okay, but otherwise we're not using any end punctuation.
It's like Latin.
It's weird.
Oh,
I want to punch you in. Hey, remember that that thing you said? I had permission to punch you in the dick. This might work. So
I'm gonna give myself the option and pass it off to Chuck. So
I'll punch you twice just for you.
Yeah, twice now.
That's awful. Oh my God. I wouldn't even know what to do with myself. It's like, I get that you want to be different, and it's important to stand out and it's important to be original. But man, there's certain rules that you got to play by.
Well, the worst part of that particular project was that it was a trade paperback or graphic novel, so it was long. And I had already gone through the entire book and made note of every single lack of missing punctuation, sent it to them, and he goes, oh yeah, no, we don't use end punctuation. I was like, oh no, you owe me like $1 billion now, because I just wasted like an entire week of my life doing this.
But why though?
He thinks it. This particular creator thinks it's innovative to not use end punctuation. That the art and what the words are there. I saw that. Stop that. That the art and what's there in writing should be enough to tell you what the punctuation should be.
For sure. I'm also of the school of thought that you should be able to read a comic book even if you can't read. And I know that may sound strange to people, but you should be able to pick it up and understand exactly what's happening without, maybe subtle nuance, you know what I'm saying? But the art should speak for itself,
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going in, and especially with, like I said, if you're not going and you're getting people to edit it or read it or anything else like that, there could be nuances in your pages that mean different things. I mean, hand signals, the way people are standing, just slight motions. There was a scene in the first listener where, like I said, a lot of my book has to do with PTSD, and we use PTSD to tell stories, so like you're walking toward this flame, this big old bonfire, and it takes Addie back to his grandfather's funeral, which in their belief system, they would burn the entire home with the individual in it after they passed, and you wouldn't talk about that individual for a period of time because it was considered disrespectful. You wouldn't use their name or anything like that. So we use that to take us there. And if you're familiar with, like, even if you're familiar with PTSD, but if you, reading my book, you can see it. I mean, there's at least a couple people in this room that have read my books. You know what I mean? So you can see what I'm talking about versus if I don't do it correctly, it's not going to work. It's not going to make any sense. It's going to look just strange, versus the page turner, that Greg just mentioned. At the very bottom of that particular page, there's a panel with Guy tapping Addie on the shoulder, bringing him back to a present time. So you're wondering what happens after he comes back to what you're seeing, So there's all kinds of nuances to these things. And if you don't know the skill set, and people can argue all they want, it is a skill set. You have to have it. To write a comic book and to create panels, you have to have a skill set for it, and to go, I'm just going to make a comic book is ignorant, like these small things that make it are what make the books popular. Greg's got a bunch of titles coming out, but people pay attention because the titles are interesting. There are things that he does that makes the title interesting. If I were to go, okay, I'm not going to add any page turners to it. I'm not going to add any action. I'm not going to add any gore. Absolutely have to make it talk. There are certain things that if I didn't add them, my book wouldn't be anywhere near as interesting as it is, versus having an editor. The first book, I didn't have one. You know what I mean? It was us it was me, Kyle, and the cover artist and Eric, our interior artist that were doing this book. And it was like, okay, we're very lucky and we're very appreciative of how well the book did. Versus when you look at my second book and it's leaps and bounds beyond, and it's not like years passed or anything like that, or even 6 months passed. It was a 2-month period from one book to the next month. But at the same time, we had an editor, we had a letterer, a professional letterer. All these things make a difference in your books. And I'll preach it till the end of time. I'm super glad. I have 2 editors right now. I have Chuck and I have Phil. Phil is my co-editor in case Chuck doesn't, misses something or doesn't have time, which he doesn't do that. So don't worry about Chuck on that. I'm just saying.
It happens. I'm not worried.
Sometimes, though, it's nice to have other people see things, just like he mentioned, and it makes it for a better product, So filling out your team is the goal. And I think that's the coolest thing about this particular show that we've done today is talking about actually filling out your team. Because all these people that you see that are credited on comic books are credited for a reason. There's a reason there's an editor. There's a reason there's a co-editor. There's a reason there's a letterer, inker, line artist, whatever, and what have you. All these people have their parts to play, and it's just like Jenga, right? If you go into Jenga and you're missing parts at the bottom, it's liable to fall faster than it is if it's missing parts at the top, And it's very influential when you have these guys that have been doing this for a long time. Chuck's on how many books now? 15, 20 books, Chuck, at a minimum right now?
That's my current plate, as I call it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's current. And that's not even talking about the stuff he's done previously. But that's what I'm getting at. There's something to be said about bringing people in that have tenure almost. When you bring in an artist, like I mentioned earlier, bring in people that have been around a little bit, bring in people that are influential, that can help you push your book or help you with your book. I'm learning that a lot of times artists have certain things they like to do when they do a cover. They come in, they're like, I might advertise it once or twice. I might. But then you have other artists that come in and they're advertising your book left and right. You know what I mean? You have to understand who you're bringing on your team. Because a lot of times, like we've got Justin Hunt coming on for the next issue of Greed, the one that Chuck is working on. Justin Hunt will be on, and Chuck's. I'd like to keep Chuck with us for the length of every project. He and I have talked about that. But there's something to be said about when you bring these guys on, they have in their cost, right? It's like built in. Like when you pay for Justin Hunt, you pay for Justin Hunt's advertising. Yeah. You know what I mean? You pay for this, this, and this. And there are little nuances to people. So like if it's a newer artist that people haven't seen, those nuances aren't built yet. You know what I mean? They may not know that you would like them to do this. You may have to ask them to advocate for your book. Even though it's their book too, it's still, you may have to be like, hey, look, can you help me out? Can you push this a little bit? Versus people that have been in the industry a long time that are like, hey, look, this is in what you paid for. You get this, 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 and this, So.
Well, and especially when you're new, I think being an advocate for your work, even if you don't necessarily own it. So let's say you're an inker, and you come on and you're inking other people's books. Helping to push that book is also helping to push your work, showing that you do stuff. That you're a hard worker, that you're getting your stuff out there, and then the success of that book is the success that you get to own as well. Absolutely. And so, yeah, I mean that's huge. I've been lucky to be on some huge books, and I've been on some really small books. But you push them all; it doesn't matter. It's scary. I mean, I agree that it's a thing, but. You want to be in the business. You want to get out there and show your stuff off. You got to get over your shit. Like I'm sorry, it's just a fact. Yeah.
Well, stylistically, right? That's another thing that I've seen people talk about. They worry about their style and how their style is justifiable in the modern market. Does my style fit? Does this work? And stuff like that. But at the same time, you look at these people that have come in and make their own niches, right? They make their own plays. Look at Peach Momoko, right? May not be everybody's favorite artist in the whole world, but she came in, smashed it, and now everybody knows her name. You know what I mean? Whether you've been in the industry a long time or you just walked into it, her name is a household name. And that can't be said for a lot of people. You know, so if you come in with your own style and you show it off a little bit, it may do well. Like Gabriela Ramos, and I get that too. But
No, I have that problem, Mike. I get it.
She does all my cover A's for the listener. She comes in and she does all my cover A's. She doesn't work on another comic book at all. She tattoos professionally. She only does my cover A's. Every time she does a book for me, she sells the most covers in my Kickstarter. Every single time. Doesn't work on another book, has her own style, sells the most. And like I drop names on my books. So if she's selling the most out of people that are really, really heavy hitters, there's something to be said about people in their own style. You know, people enjoy it. It's different. You could see the same style over and over and over again. It's like a slide. You know, you keep seeing the same particular art style. You know, Chuck and I talked about it on a cover the other day of ours. You know what I mean? It's like you see the same style, and then all of a sudden there's a new one. You know what I mean? It's like if you see the color blue every day, then all of a sudden you see the color pink. It's like, well, hey, you know, that's interesting. You know, it catches your attention. And even if it only catches your attention for a minute, you're going to go tell your buddy that you saw pink today. You know, it's very different, you know, and I would like to see the, you know, the musician. That'd be cool too. But it's just, it's like, you know, what is that phrase with the, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is pink, right? Yeah. So it's that little difference, that little nuance that you bring to the table that can set you apart from other people. And I find that that's a great way for comic books artists, comic book writers to market their books. You know what I mean? These are different. This is my person. No one else uses them. How awesome are they? I feel like that about Eric. If you open the listener, there's nobody out there doing his style right now. It's his style. You know, it looks great. It's his own. You know, and you see people come out with that stuff and they stand out. So do your part. Lift them up a little bit. You know what I mean? Lift them up so people can see them. Because the more they see them, the more they see you. And that's my opinion about advertising for each other. You know, like I go out and I'm like, hey, look, Chuck's over here. Chuck's great. He's editing my book. Have you read this? And it's easy to use Chuck because he's in the room. But that's just what I'm saying. If I have a team member that is doing something awesome, April's doing Rising Tides. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's smashing right now for her first ever Kickstarter. Yeah, what are we, 3,700 right now or something like that? I mean, killing for a Kickstarter for the very first one. And an art book, not a comic book, but an art book.
It's not April's first Kickstarter.
I thought it was her first.
It's her second one. She did one back. She did Squee back in October.
See, I didn't see Squee, so that's good.
That's good.
But
either way, April's awesome.
Phenomenal,
and everything she does is great.
One of the coolest people I've met in this industry. You know what I mean? And has come out and backed me when she got on with my book. She was like, "Hey, I'm coming out of my comfort zone to do a cover for you. Can I do one?" I said, "Yes, please, absolutely." And it was the coolest concept of Cade and Oz under the bed. As kids, we all hid under the bed at points in time. I just thought that was the coolest idea, that you would come out of this like you're like a normal action sequence or something, and then just put our characters under the bed with like a flashlight. You know, like, what are you guys doing under there in the dark? You know, it's all shiesty looking and whatnot. But it was really, really cool, and it comes from a different place for this particular individual. You know, so to be able to do something fun like that stands out. You know, like she just took our Minotaur demon and mixed it with like a sea cow. You know, and literally, it was the coolest thing. I mean, what if you're going to mix a Minotaur with something, a sea cow makes perfect sense. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's all good stuff.
I wanted to comment about the spamming thing that Mike said. That's bullshit. Look, it's not spamming if you're changing what you're saying. So if you're sending something, like let's say you have one picture that day that you want to show out, and you want to show it off on 20 different boards, just change what you're talking about each time you put it on a different board. So, you know, like let's say Dustin has April's cover. So the first one, he might talk about April. The second one, he might talk about the composition. The third one. And so you just find different ways of saying the same thing. At that point, it's not spam. It's a different thing. And I hate this thing where people are like, oh, but what about overexposure? You think Nike's fucking worried about overexposure? You think fucking Coca-Cola? People are getting into your head and you're letting them in there. Fuck off. Shut the door. Get your shit out there. You know, Belial, we pushed that motherfucker up a hill like mad. I was on every podcast. I was out there on every board. We put Sean and I push. His memes for that were everywhere. And that's because we said, fuck spamming. It's not a thing. Also, the algorithm. Zuckerberg is crushing you, and you're letting him by being afraid of spamming. Get over that shit and just push that thing to everywhere and everyone.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I like doing my memes, and it's just that one meme, and it just like shows a bunch of Kickstarters. These are all the ones you should support.
I think that you may have created a monster right now, because I think I have like 30 photos that I've edited recently to start. Because I did the one for with Howie Mandel the other day, and now I have like a ton of them put away for the listener.
Yeah.
And I started doing this fun thing, and you guys can do these things at home. Don't pay people to do them for you. You know, if you have Windows 10 or anything like that, you know, Paint 3D, any of that stuff will do it for you. You know what I mean? Just take a couple minutes of your day, learn how to use it. Really simple stuff. So as you go through, like we did an image where we cut Cade out, and
We don't know. We weren't there.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, no, but that's right.
We cut Cade out, and we put him on my table on my back porch, and I literally sat down, and we took a photo of me sitting down in a chair, and then we put Cade sitting on the table like we were having a conversation. It's really easy stuff to do. Like it used to be difficult, you know, stuff like that used to be really hard. I used to have Photoshop, used to have all kinds of other programs. Nowadays, Paint 3D is free. You know what I mean? Magic Select, you can go in there and cut things out. Take 10 minutes of your time to make a cool little ad for your book. You know, if you want it that bad, take a little bit of time. You know what I mean?
I have GIMP, but I still have to learn how to use GIMP.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not, the only graphic design kind of stuff I do is like Canva. So.
Well, and I was going to say Canva is a good free resource. And also,
those are the two.
You know, Clip Studio is $100, which isn't a terribly huge amount, but a couple times a year they run it for half off. So $50 for a program you actually get it for $50, not like Photoshop. You don't just rent it monthly. But for a program that has basically the same caliber of, you know, power, I guess the best way to put it is Photoshop. I mean, it's the deal. That's what I did. $50, and it's, you know, I could do just about anything you can do in Photoshop.
Hey,
you can with GIMP too, but GIMP, the learning curve on GIMP sucks.
For sure. I
tried it for years.
I didn't want anything to do with it. I was like, this other stuff looks real simple, so I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? And this is real easy. I click the cutout button. I trace the dude, and he's cut out. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to get into any kind of shenanigans. But it's really cool to see you on here, Todd. I wanted to tell you that earlier. I've watched
people tell me that all the time.
Well, no, it's not just that. I've watched you comment on things that you've talked about your project and confidence and how important it is. And I think that a lot of us that are writers have, whether we portray it or not, we have confidence issues. You know what I mean? We really do. And I think it's really cool of you to step up and be like, hey, look, I'm going to start doing shows. I'm going to start being out there. I'm going to start putting my book out there for people to see it. I applaud you for that. You know,
you had the confidence.
Yep. You know what I mean?
I was waiting for it.
You know, but that's such a cool name for your book when you know that there's an issue. Like I remember as a kid when Breaking Benjamin put out their first album, it was called Polyamorous. Mm-hmm. And the thing with Ben Burnley though is he has like every phobia under the sun.
Yeah.
Like every phobia you can imagine. You know what I mean? The guy doesn't even like to come out of his house. You know, he doesn't like planes. He doesn't like tour buses. That's one of the reasons the band fell apart originally. You know what I mean? Because he would do things and then claim that he, you know, would or would not be there, could not be there for this reason or that reason, or he was ill or whatever else. You know, and for people to fight past these fears is something to be proud of. So, like Chuck mentioned, whether you make it or not in this particular Kickstarter, and you've already mentioned how high the goal was. So if you make it or not, understand this: you've broken your own barrier already. You've beaten the monster. Like we all talk about the demon. You know, we all have our own demons, and you've beaten yours with this ability to come out in public and be like, "Hey, look, I'm putting out a comic book. I put myself out there, and it's powerful, man. And I applaud you for it. I think it's really cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It has been a eye-opening experience, I guess. Like it really has. I mean, I'm not a complete introvert, but like I prefer to be an introvert. But you get me talking about the right thing, and people will think I'm outgoing, but it's just, you just catch me on the right thing that I, happen to know a lot about or like. But I can't go into a room of people and make friends, which is really hard in this business because like networking is such a big deal. I vend at all like shows in my area selling, t-shirts and decals and stuff. So I know all the creators in my area, and I'm still scared to go up and talk to half of them. Like I still am like, ooh, that's a whole step I don't need to take. I get nervous going to ask for signatures when I go to big shows from like, creators that I respect. I'm like I made an idiot of myself in front of Jason Aaron, who's like my favorite writer from, works for Marvel, writes Thor, big deal, super nice guy. I walked up to him and I was like, oh, you're my favorite writer. And I'm like shaking. I'm like 37 at the time too. It's not like this was like when I was 15. And I was like, I've loved almost everything you've written. And I was like, that came out stupid. And he's like, oh, what didn't you like? And I was like, no, I just meant I haven't read everything you've written. God damn it. And I was just like, thanks for signing my book. And I just like walked away like a moron. And that's like, so it's hard. Like I'm not good in these situations. And I appreciate that, someone appreciates the fact that I am,
Absolutely.
I've been trying to be very open in my posts too. I've been trying to not just,
I follow it, man.
pitch.
I follow it all the time. You know what I mean? Because I'm like,
I appreciate it.
There's a lot to be said about our peers in this industry. You know what I mean? Like, so I have a show coming up. It's at the end of the month. It's the Memorial Day weekend Suncoast Comic Show, right? Jim Noble and I are going. Mike DeBalfo, Marissa Pope, Brian Kincaid. A bunch of us are going. We all know each other, right? We all know each other. We've known each other for a while, and we all requested to be on like the same row because we all knew each other. This is a newer show. We didn't know who would be there, who wouldn't be there. You know what I mean? So it was like, oh, let's all get together so we can literally just slide books down the tables and get them signed and whatnot. You know what I mean? But there still comes this point where when you're dealing with people that you've been fans of, a fan of, or multiple people fans of, that you want to get books signed or you're going to hang out or whatever else. Sitting and having a beer with a dude that you've been a fan of for 15 years is a big deal. And regardless of anybody's, self-confidence or anything like that, I still go, am I allowed to sit at this table? You know what I mean? There are still those moments where I'm sitting there and I'm like, is this real? You know what I mean? There are dudes at this table that are, making what I make a year on 3 and 4 books. You know what I'm saying? Is this a serious conversation? But they don't treat you like that. And I think that's something that coming up and people coming up in the industry need to understand. Once Hutchinson said it the best. He said, if you made it, you've made it. Tom, it was a really cool conversation. Tom was sitting and talking to some dude and I was watching him talk about it. He was like, hey, if you've put a book out, no one can take that from you. You know what I mean? You've put it out. It's yours. No one can ever take that. In the annals of history, you have put out this particular book and it exists. It's out there. 30 years from now, if you printed well, hopefully we all print well. If you printed well, that book still exists. It was taken care of. It's still going to be out there. If you go into one of the 800 long boxes that are in this house and you start going through them, you're going to find indie books like Blackthorn and stuff like that have been around forever, but there's only so many of them in the world. And there are cats that chase those books. One of these days, there's going to be somebody chasing confidence. There's going to be one of these days, somebody's chasing scales, whatever, what have you. There's going to be people out there that are Adam Field fans that are chasing Adam Field's covers in the future.
I actually know one guy that is a fan of Adam Field, and I know who to target.
It's not just one guy, dude. I swear. When I ran my anthology Kickstarter, with him, all he did was he only had time for a pinup. I sold more than triple the amount of his pinup than anybody else in prints, and he I would say a third of the backers on that book were just people who were like, "Oh, Adam did it, I want it."
Absolutely. But see, that's
dude, he has one pinup on one page in the back of it, and they bought a $15 book for that alone.
Wow.
You got to surround yourself with that. You know what I'm saying? It's a business. Know who you're trying to hire.
So you guys are very much also talking about imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Which and I have a favorite story that I love to tell. I actually found the story. It's Neil Gaiman's Imposter Syndrome story. It's a great story. Yeah, you've heard this. It's great. It goes like this. This is straight from Neil Gaiman. Some years ago, I was lucky enough to be invited to a gathering of great and good people, artists and scientists, writers and discoverers of things. And I felt that at any moment they would realize that I didn't qualify to be there among those people who had really done things. On my second or third night, I was standing at the back of the hall while a musical entertainment happened, and I started talking to a very nice, polite, elderly gentleman about several things, including our shared first name. And then he pointed to the hall of people and said words to the effects of, I just look at all these people and I think, what the heck am I doing here? They've made amazing things. I just went where I was sent. And I said, yeah, but you were the first man on the moon. I think that counts for something. And I felt better, because if Neil Armstrong felt like an imposter, maybe everyone did. Maybe there weren't any grown-ups, only people who had worked hard and also got lucky and were slightly out of their depth. All of us doing the best job we could, which is all we can really hope for. Neil Gaiman wasn't even the most famous Neil in the room that he was in. And that's even the most famous Neil was like, dude, I don't deserve to be here. We all feel this way, guys. Get over it. Confidence is a mind fuck. It's a fucking Jedi mind trick that you play on yourself.
Yep.
Just tell yourself, I deserve to fucking be here, and go do it. That's all confidence is.
You gotta have a high
I would
ground.
say, for years, I mean, I started in the industry as a reviewer, for those who don't know. And I used to, people are like, you're part of the industry. I'm like, no, I'm on the fringe at the best. I considered myself an outsider to the whole thing. And I've said that to a couple of people, and they're like, are you out of your mind? You're doing things before anybody else was doing them. And you've made the connections, you've got the friends, you're not, you're not an outsider. That's just an absolute crazy thing to think. I thought, well, I tricked myself into thinking that. Nobody else was necessarily thinking it.
For sure.
But I talked myself into that's what it was.
And I mean, you were on the fringe because you put yourself there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now you're not at all, because you recognized, I'm not that person.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Well, I remember doing a show in Phoenix. You brought up Mike DeBalfo. And I was standing at the table just talking to him. He goes, would you come around here and sit down? And I was like, Mike wants me to sit behind the table? Like, what? And I know if I'd said that, he would have just laughed.
Yeah.
But to me, I wasn't at his level.
Right.
So why would he ask me to sit behind his table?
Right on. And that's the thing, right? Though, I met him before I knew who he was. If that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I did. I kind of did too. I had no idea when I first met him, you know, who he was or what he did.
Jim Noble, you know what I mean? I met Jim Noble as a person before I knew he had anything to do with comic books. And that's where the basis is on most of my friendships are. I knew people before I knew who they were. Like Mike, I played Mortal Kombat with Mike for a year before I opened my store. Didn't even know that I was supposed to figure out that's who he was. And, because it was Raven Gregory that put us together. And he was like, you guys will get along really well. You're both dads. You both work, long hours. You only hang out in the evenings. You guys will get along great, right? And when I told him I was going to open a comic shop, he was like, what kind of motherfucker doesn't invite his buddy to do a signing at his comic shop? And I was like, why would I invite you? And he was like, he was like, because of comics, jackass, you know what I mean? So it was like, so, you know, he was one of the first people to come to a signing at my shop when I opened it. And like I said, and I wrote my uncle's eulogy, he was one of the first people to be like, hey, you have to do something with that. There's talent behind that, you know, follow that. Don't just let it go and take up some normal Joe Blow job at the end of the day. You know, you gotta work, you know, go do this. So I was like, okay. And then a couple other people did, and it was awesome. But when you put yourself, it's real easy to slide into that syndrome, though. It's so super easy. Like I got, so Jim and I, neither one of us were invited to this event on Saturday night. You know, the big shows have big events for the big draws. You know what I mean? They all do. They all take these guys out and they you know, they woo them and whatever else. We did it for the shop. You know what I mean? When they come into town, you take them out and you have a good time. All right. We weren't invited. I get it. I'm not there yet. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, doesn't mean we're not going to have a good time. You know what I mean? It was like, hey, look, you know, I rented a cabin. We're all going to hang out at the cabin Friday night, you know, BS, you know, drink, do barbecue, whatever else, you know. And that to me is going to be just as much fun as the event Saturday night that we didn't get to go to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just because you have to do your time. There's a difference between knowing your worth but expecting more than your due. You know what I'm saying? Because put 20 years in the industry. Then if you don't get invited into those events, then get pissed off. You know what I mean? Hey, why didn't I get invited? You know, I've been around 20 years. I sell more books. I do this, da-da-da-da-da. Invite me. I'm a name now. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully it doesn't take any of us 20 years to get to the point where we're, you know, invited. But that's just an example of there are counterpoints to the, you know, the imposter syndrome. You know what I mean? It's like we all need to know our worth. And I didn't know it until the end of my second book. I was scared to death. I didn't think the books would sell like I wanted them to, you know. And when we put out Greed, it was like, well, like I said, it was like $1,500 in a day and a half. I was nowhere near prepared for that. I was so excited, so thankful, you know, so excited and so thankful. But there's a point where you're like, okay, well, now we have to reach more people. We have to learn more. We have to do more. We have to put ourselves out there. And like Chuck said, we can't go and be afraid. It's not spamming if you do it correctly. You know, it's not obnoxious if you're showing different pieces of art or you're doing different things with it. Like, I'm excited for all of you guys. I pay attention. You know, I pay attention to people that use the same teammates I do because I promote my teammates. You know, to see Adam work on this stuff with Greg is awesome. You know, there were a couple panels that we saw early that were just like, holy crap, that's amazing. I need to get behind that. You know, there's just, and, you know, we like things like that where Greg reaches out and he goes, dude, I need a bar of soap. That made me laugh so hard. I almost, like, I literally laughed so hard because it was like 3 people reached out to me about a bar of soap. Like, the soap did more, it did a lot better than it should have. It really did. And it was exciting and it was fun, but it was like, that's how you know that the industry is going places because people give a shit about the other people in the industry. Yeah. Because we don't, where even the big names, they don't work for Marvel like they used to. You know what I'm saying? They're coming into the indie world and going, hey, look, this is a new zone for us to be in. You know, so don't think that people are above you. Reach out to them. Like I mentioned, all of our artists. I did it because either I knew them or they would bring things to the table. You know, you don't build a football team and try to grab all the third string. You know, you want to bring in some draw. You know, and I'm thankful. You know, I'm thankful for Chuck. I'm thankful for everybody involved. You know,
oddly enough, when I was putting together my Ohio anthology about 1.5 years ago, we brought in because he lives in Akron, right by me, Matt Horak, who draws for Marvel. He was drawing Spider-Man Deadpool at the time.
Right.
You know. And we got him to draw our cover, you know, because we were like, oh, it's going to be a name. That didn't do exactly what we thought. Turns out Matt Horak doesn't really do a whole lot of social media or anything, so that didn't help much. But we still thought that the name would help, but I don't know how much it really did. But, you know, the fact that he was accessible and reasonable for the, you know, price-wise and everything, we only paid him $250 to do that cover. And he was working at Marvel at the time.
I'm really thinking of doing Brian Silverbacks as
do it.
a cover just because like he definitely promotes.
He's a good dude. He's got a lot of talent.
I'm willing anytime, Greg. You just let me know. I will draw you the best stick figure cover you have ever seen.
I actually am coming out with a comic next year with Josh Harris that is part of Heaven's Decoded. It's called Mittens Space Pilot, and it's actually kid-friendly kind of, which is kind of weird because there's no swearing in it. So it's very hard to write a script when you swear all the time. So, yeah, there's no swearing, and it's
no way.
Space pilot.
Well, kids stuff is my corner.
Yeah, I had one scene in it, and then he was reading it, and he's like, I don't think you can have that in the comic because that's too violent for kids. I was like, I should get that out of there.
The number one, this one story I've revealed from this book is I was trying to figure out how to do it because all the cats are named in the colonies, and the first story I wrote was about a cat named Rocky, which is now kind of bitten me in the ass because everybody he's a fighter. He works out in the gym, and was trying to figure out where to go with it, and he ends up in a dance battle against another group because it has to be kid friendly.
Right.
So you've got this rival group who wants to come in and use the gym. They're like, oh, I don't know, and so they're like, prepare to be balleted.
Oh God.
But it's now bitten me in the ass because I've had 3 or 4 other creators who have heard this story, and now they're like, okay, well, where's Rocky 2?
Huh?
They want me to write a new story for the number of movies and hope that no more movies are ever coming out.
And then you're gonna have like a Russian cat.
How far are we going with it? But it's funny what people latch onto. They heard it, and I thought it's an okay story, because I don't ever think my stuff is marvelous, but because as always, we see our biggest flaws ourselves. And but no, they've latched onto this, and they they want like a whole series now of stories.
What we often do is we look at what we wrote and we compare it to what we wanted to write, and we don't see it for what it is. We don't see that it turned out really cool. We just see that it didn't turn out exactly the way we thought. So we miss the value of it to a degree, but that's just apparently in human nature.
I think it is. I think we're always pushing ourselves to that next level, whatever that level may be. And
I know a character. Go ahead. There's actually a character that Covenant Comics actually has, or they're like the guy's part of them. Jesse Bear. Burlap is like just awesome. If you're into like this kind of stuff, you would like Burlap. It's like got the horror vibe to it, superhero-ish kind of thing, but not like vigilante. It's a very good book, and you should definitely check that out.
Yeah. Basically, it's a slasher, but it's a twist on a slasher. So it's like the villains are the victims of this slasher vigilante. So like there's like a bunch of slashers, and but they're the victims of this other slasher who is the vigilante. And so I love it.
Dexter,
I might be a little biased,
It's like Dexter, but like Burlap isn't it?
There you go. Yeah.
What kind of art style is that? Is that like a Johnny the Homicidal Maniac type of art style, or?
It's so it's black and white. And it's like it's like when you think of comic books, it's like that type of art style, but black and white. So I like to think more of I don't know.
So to me, that's like a Western style. That's like
it actually has Western in it too. Actually.
Well, there you go. So nowadays, what I mean by that is if you look at mainstream comics, it's nice to see different types of books, but Marvel and DC run almost a very similar style of the artwork that they put out in their books. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's we're all like right now everybody's gravitating toward like I said, the Peace Momoko, the Stanley Lau, you know what I mean? It's becoming very digital in a lot of these covers. You know what I'm saying? Overly digital, we'll say. Not just a little digital, but overly digital. And yeah, so Western is very different than like right now, my books sell really well in the European market. Like the listener, like Greed is doing great over here, but the listener does so much better over there aftermarket from after the Kickstarter than it did here, you know. And it's just because of art style. People are interested in different things in different parts of the world. You know, you have to look at demographics. That's exciting though, man. I love the concept of Dexter was great. Who didn't love Dexter?
Yeah.
You know, the comic book was
Brand
great.
new season.
You know, I'm excited about it. I was a big fan of the novels. You know, he went to prison and all that jazz. I hated the way they ended the show because of the fact that the novels were still going. So it was like, what happened? You know, but when you're dating your co-star that's supposed to be your sister, it's not great anyway, I would think.
Yeah.
So, you know, a little awkward, but whatever. There was an editing issue there, Chuck. Somebody should have handled that.
Right? Oh,
That was not great.
I'll take the job.
So if you all want to go around the virtual room, one last time and do your little elevator pitch and whatnot for your Kickstarter, do that, and then we will end this.
Sounds like fun.
So we can start with JD.
Alrighty. So again, my name is JD Gonzales, the writer and creator of Crossbones. It is about a cartel member who is, again, imbued with a strange, weird, disgusting at sometimes superpower of controlling his bones, and we explore that. And then he, with that, is faced with the challenge of righting the wrongs and the sins of his past. Kind of like Ice Pick, it's a lot of influence from Dante's Inferno, Divine Comedy, a lot of influence from Supernatural, a lot of influence from Narcos Mexico, Breaking Bad, and a lot of influence from superheroes, because again, I love that stuff, so I put a lot of that stuff into my writing. So yeah, that's live on Kickstarter right now. We are about 160 something % above our goal, trying to get to our first stretch goal. So yeah, that's me.
Sweet. I'm Dustin. I wrote and created The Listener, and I also currently write Greed as well. I have a third IP coming out by the end of the year. I'm really excited about that. But currently our Kickstarter is for Greed, and it's a lot of fun, right? It's like basically like you take this kid and you give him a buddy that a 10-year-old kid shouldn't have. You know what I mean? Like it's like that older kid that you never wanted your kid to hang out with, right? Like they're definitely not supposed to be hanging out with that guy. But they get into all these situations, you know, where you're constantly bringing up a child's point of view, like, should I act like this? Should I be like this? But it's part of this much larger world in our umbrella, you know, we'll call it, of the Listener franchise and stuff. So it's a standalone book, but you get a lot more from it if you understand the nuances of the world we've created. We're going to start bringing in a couple more characters in the following books that you've seen in other projects of ours. Lilith is huge. She'll be making her first appearance in the next book. We're bringing on Chuck Pineau for that book. We're bringing on David Fought for that book. Justin Hunt's coming on for that book. A lot of big names. April's coming back for that one. I think we're going to have Marissa Pope on that one. So lots of really cool folks. But if you enjoyed like Little Monsters or My Pet Monster, you know, that's definitely where we're going with it. You know, you've got the devil on your shoulder, but we don't have an angel on the other one over here. So it's a very, you know, theologically powered book. I bring in all different kinds of religions and mythologies, and how would this person or this child with this monster deal with these individuals, especially when they're drawn into a much larger scheme than one of them knew about. So if you're into that, if you're into films that you wish had grown with you through your youth, this is definitely one of them. We've got a Little Nemo, the Dream Master variant that'll be coming out for this next one as well. So we're really hyped about bringing in the cosplay variants. But anyway, yeah, that's me. You can catch me at Dustin Brunell on Facebook. I'm super cool with anybody asking questions or talking, send by shoot shit. And then, like I said, we're on Kickstarter right now for Greed. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Sweet. And Chuck can promote one of them.
One thing? Oh, geez. You know, I'll because I was really brought on here to talk about Heaven's Decoded, so
Yeah.
I'll talk about that and then throw some other things in real quick. But Heaven's Decoded is on Kickstarter right now. We're funded. It's a sci-fi epic, basically about it's a little bit in the future, and it's about a crew who ends up going into space on an archaeological dig of sorts, and they end up finding stuff that brings them in way over their head, and they find out that they're actually in the middle of something that is intergalactic and that could really affect the lives of billions and billions of people across galaxies. So really exciting story, really fun to be a part of. Issue 1 is out right now. I think you guys are going to have a blast with that. Check that out. I'm also a writer and editor, so I would love it if you guys checked out Essence House on the podcast that works now. We just started season 3, episode 2, so we're really excited about that. It's a time travel epic. And I also have my own show. It's called Chuck's Shop Talk. It's every Tuesday, and this Tuesday is my big 25th episode. And I'm going to be having a panel of some of my my favorite buddies, my good buddies. We're going to sit down and we're going to talk about all sorts of cool storytelling do's and don'ts and all that kind of stuff. We would love for you guys to come out and check it out. You can find that on my YouTube channel, Chuck's Raw Reviews. Todd, tell us about confidence, my friend.
If he's there.
Yeah,
As I
right.
say, Todd's been locked for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, Todd has a book on Kickstarter right now called Confidence, and I know about that because I am the editor of that as well. It's a terrific space epic also about a guy who's basically he's trying to dig up something, and he's being a con man. He's conning basically an entire space yacht in order to get this one thing. What is that thing? What would drag a man to do that and to try to con hundreds and tons of people on the middle of a space yacht with a military presence? Go check out Confidence now and you'll find out. Hope that helped, Todd.
Oh, poor Todd.
Go ahead,
But
Katrina.
But the book sounds awesome.
It is
All right,
good.
guys. I'm Katrina Roets, Cat Scratch Press on Facebook. Feel free to reach out to me there. I'm also on Instagram as Life with Katie, where if you watch right now, I am actually posting real life pictures of the cats who are characters in my new book, which is on Kickstarter right now, called Apo's Army. It is 20 plus short stories about cats who happen to live in cat colonies down in Florida. We are, 2 weeks in. We have 2 weeks left, and we are currently about 120% funded. We are 3 or 4 backers away from unlocking our next backer goal print, which was done by Josh Lyman. And we are only $49 or so, give or take, from opening our first stretch goal, which is going to provide a really cool bookmark done by Eric Cockrell for everybody who backs at a physical level. That's the word I wanted. Level or layer, just whatever works for you. And this is Zeus. I can't do a podcast without him showing up at some point. So he thinks he's the superstar of the group, and he actually has a story within the book as well.
That's cool. Oh, I think he's back.
There's
Hey,
Todd. Welcome back.
Welcome back, Todd.
I didn't know I was frozen. Like my computer was freezing in the background, but like everything was still live with you guys. Like I could still hear talking, and so I started talking when it was my turn, and then Chuck was like, "Well," I'm like, "Well, you can hear me," so I had to restart the computer like the good old days.
Did I do okay for the pitch at least?
It sounded good. It sounded good. I cut off in the middle of the restart so I could make sure that I got
It's
back
convinced me.
Well, why don't you pitch it then? Let's hear what your pitch sounds like.
Katrina, did you go already?
Yeah.
I did. I went already.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I didn't want to. So like Chuck said, it is about a gentleman named Alan who is a con man in space. He is on a luxury cruise liner, and he's basically charming his way, or at least lying his way through most of the people on there, so that he can collect some pieces to a puzzle that we are not all privy to as readers until the very end. So you got to read to find out exactly what he's trying to do and what he's trying to get from this cruise ship.
Right on.
And it's a nice, lighthearted, humorous book. It's not overly serious. You know, it's got its serious moments and all, but it's meant to be lighthearted and just fun. Just a lot of fun.
Love it.
It's exciting.
Well, thanks everybody for coming on. And
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you. Yeah,
Yay,
really
thanks for
appreciate
having
Blast.
me.
Good time.
Learned a lot.
This is a good group.
absolutely.
Yeah,
It was
I
mad
might
fun.
turn this into an actual podcast if I feel like editing it. But, it's going to be like 4 parts. But
This dude works his ass off all the time. He's like, "This is my one day off, guys. I don't know if I'm gonna make it through it."
yeah, I'm also going to be on CromCon the 29th. But yeah,
Yeah, I believe I'm on CromCon. I think the 30th. I think I should
I'm
check my
doing the
calendar.
same thing that I'm doing here on that. Just yeah, I did a lot of these for this month because like everybody has a Kickstarter this month. I don't know why.
Everybody.
They're like, be like, Greg's not gonna have money in May, so yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, and I'm gonna.
Oh, it must be the 29th because I'm on right before you. I just remembered that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good that one of us knows when we're going to do it.